Okay, I need to talk about this. I'm sitting here staring out at the city lights, and everything feels utterly unreal. Like a nightmare I can't wake from. My life, my future, my very family, it's just gone. And everyone's acting like I'm the one who needs to process things, like I'm the one who should feel. What? Shame? Anger? I feel betrayed. Profoundly, unforgivably betrayed. And frankly, it's beyond unfair. My name is Charlotte. And David, he was my husband. We've been married for 8 years. 8 years of building what I thought was a perfect life. David is a brilliant architect, highly respected, meticulously organized, and unfailingly reliable. He designed our stunning modern home overlooking the river, the kind you see featured in exclusive design magazines. He managed our finances, ensured every bill was paid, remembered every anniversary, and was on paper the definition of a good husband. The kind people envy, the kind my own mother always sighed about, wishing her own marriage had been as solid. But good can also mean comfortable. Too comfortable. Our life together had become a predictable waltz of routines. His early morning design sessions, his late nights poring over blueprints, our quiet dinners where his conversation revolved around building codes, structural integrity, and the endless minutiae of his projects. When I tried to inject some spontaneity, some life, suggest a last-minute flight to a new city, or a wild uninhibited night out, he'd always have a reason. The client deadline, Charlotte, or I have that structural review tomorrow, or I'm just so tired, honey, my brain is fried from work. Always tired, always busy, always prioritizing his structured, controlled world over my vibrant, desperate needs. He saw my desires as frivolous distractions from his grand plan for our secure future, our optimized life. He even critiqued my choice of throw pillows as structurally unsound. I felt like I was slowly suffocating, a vibrant spirit wilting in a perfectly climate-controlled, yet utterly lifeless environment. I am a woman who thrives on energy, on laughter, on vibrant connection, on feeling adored and amused. David's affection had become routine, almost perfunctory. A pat on the head, a polite kiss goodnight. The passion we once had, the undeniable spark that drew us together in those exhilarating early days, had long since been replaced by a comfortable, quiet companionship. And comfortable can be a killer of the soul, especially when you're in your early 30s, watching other people live wildly, adventurously, passionately. I'd look at him across the dinner table, perfectly composed, impeccably dressed in his bespoke suits, and feel nothing. Just a vast, aching emptiness, a profound sense of unfulfillment, punctuated by the faint hum of his laptop fan. And then there's Emily, my sister, my younger sister by 3 years. Emily, who was always a little bit scattered, a little bit dramatic, always looking to me for guidance, for stability. She was a freelance artist, always bouncing between projects, always borrowing money, always needing a place to crash when her own apartment deals fell through. Our house was often that place. David was incredibly patient with her, I always thought. He'd help her set up her canvases in the guest room, offer her financial advice, even fix her temperamental old car. She's family, Charlotte, he'd always say with that calm, logical tone. She needs our support. And I believed him. I saw it as a sign of his goodness, his kindness. Their bond grew naturally. They shared a quirky sense of humor, a mutual appreciation for obscure indie films I found pretentious. They'd spend hours discussing art, philosophy, politics, topics David rarely engaged me with, deeming them too abstract or lacking practical application. I noticed the easy laughter, the shared glances, the way Emily's eyes would light up when David entered the room. I dismissed it. She adored her big brother-in-law. It was sweet, really. A testament to how good David was, how he could even make a connection with someone as chaotic as Emily. I was proud of their bond. But then little things started. Subtle, almost imperceptible shifts. Emily started spending more and more time at our house, even when her own apartment wasn't in crisis. She'd always be just passing through, or needed a quiet place to work. David would always be available to chat, to get her coffee, to share a moment on the patio. I'd walk into the kitchen and find them mid-conversation, heads close together, and they'd suddenly pull apart, a little too quickly, a little too innocently. Emily would blush and David would clear his throat, suddenly needing to check his phone. I dismissed it as my overactive imagination, a byproduct of my own emotional frustration with David. They were family. They were just close. One evening, I found David's phone on the kitchen counter. A text notification flashed across the screen from Emily. "Missing you already. That was incredible. Can't wait for next time." My heart gave a strange lurch. Missing him? What was incredible? I frowned, picking up the phone. It was just an innocent text from Emily, probably about some family dinner or a show they'd seen together. But the wording, "Missing you already," felt too intimate. I opened the message, my fingers trembling slightly. It was a single message, nothing else in the thread. He must have deleted the rest. A cold knot formed in my stomach. I confronted him gently. "David, I saw Emily's text. Missing you already. Is everything all right? Is she having trouble again?" I tried to make my voice sound concerned, not suspicious. He looked up, his face a perfect mask of calm. "Oh, that. We had lunch today, Charlotte. Just catching up. She's fine. You know Emily, she's a bit dramatic with her words." He smiled, that reassuring, polite smile, and I felt a wave of relief. See? My imagination. He was just being kind. But the seed of doubt, once planted, began to sprout. I started noticing more. The faint scent of Emily's overly sweet perfume on David's shirt one evening. The way they'd stand a little too close when talking, their hands occasionally brushing, lingering. A hushed conversation ending abruptly when I entered the room. The way Emily would bring him coffee every morning when she was staying over, even though she knew I was the one who made his coffee. Little betrayals like tiny cuts. I told myself it was my own insecurity, my own feeling of neglect by David, making me see things that weren't there. I was the one who was unhappy in the relationship, so I was looking for problems. I even tested them. I accidentally left my phone recording in the living room one afternoon while I went out for groceries, claiming I'd forgotten something. When I came back, I found nothing overtly incriminating. Just David helping Emily critique her latest painting. Their voices low, close. It proved nothing. I felt foolish. I was turning into one of those paranoid wives. The true discovery came a month ago. It was Emily's birthday. We had planned a surprise dinner for her. David and I were setting up decorations at a private room in a restaurant. Emily was supposedly running late from an art class. David had left his personal laptop on a side table, open. He used it for personal photos, his travel pictures. He rarely closed it. I was putting up balloons and noticed it. A notification popped up in email. From Emily. Subject: Last night. My heart seized. Curiosity, or perhaps a desperate need to dispel my creeping fears, overrode everything. I clicked. The email wasn't long. It was a single short paragraph. Last night was perfect. I loved our quiet time after Charlotte went to bed. You always know how to make me feel special. See you tomorrow at the usual place. My heart aches when we're apart. And attached a photo. A photo of David, asleep in our bed. His arm draped over a pillow. And in the corner of the frame, unmistakably, a lock of long dark hair on the pillow next to him. Emily's hair. My stomach dropped. The room spun. The balloons in my hand felt suddenly heavy, ludicrous. My vision blurred, not from tears yet, but from sheer blinding shock. It wasn't just a text. It wasn't just a lingering look. It was real. It was blatant. It was my husband and my sister in my bed while I was asleep, Perhaps just a few feet away in the guest room where I'd sometimes retreat when David's quietness became too much. The hypocrisy, the audacity, the utter betrayal of both my marriage and my family bond hit me with a force that knocked the air from my lungs. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt a cold, calm fury settle over me. I took my phone out and snapped a picture of the email and the attached photo. Then another. I closed the laptop. I rearranged the balloons. I walked out of the restaurant room, found David, and forced a smile. Emily's on her way. I chirped, my voice sounding unnaturally high. He smiled back, that placid, polite smile. The monster. The absolute monster. That night, after Emily had blown out her candles and we were back home, after she'd hugged us both and gone to the guest room, after David had retreated to his study, I found him. He was at his desk, meticulously organizing some architectural diagrams. "David," I said, my voice eerily calm. He looked up, surprised by my sudden presence. "Yes, honey. Everything all right." I walked over to his desk. I opened my phone. I held it up. The picture of his sleeping face in our bed, with Emily's hair beside him. The screenshot of Emily's email. Last night was perfect. I loved our quiet time after Charlotte went to bed. His face went utterly blank. All the color drained from it. He stared at the screen, then at me. His eyes, usually so composed, filled with a raw, agonizing horror. "Charlotte," he whispered, his voice hoarse, barely audible. "I can explain." "Explain what, David?" I said, my voice rising now, the fury finally erupting. "Explain how you've been sleeping with my sister? Explain how you've been betraying me in my own home for God knows how long? Explain how you could be so utterly vile, so deceitful, so utterly devoid of any moral compass." He stood up slowly, his hands trembling. It was a mistake, Charlotte. A moment of weakness. She was always here, always needing something. You were so busy with your friends, so wrapped up in your own life. I felt neglected. Neglected. I shrieked, the tears finally pouring down my face, hot and stinging. You felt neglected? I supported you. I built a home for you. I endured your boringness. You went and cheated on me with my own sister. How could you do this to me? To Emily? To us? Just then Emily, hearing the shouting, appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide, her face pale. She looked from me to David, then at the phone in my hand, and her shoulders slumped. Her casual, carefree facade crumbled, replaced by utter shame. "Emily," I hissed, my voice dripping with venom. "You? My own sister? How could you? After everything? After I supported you, after I took you in, after I always had your back? You betrayed me with my husband." Emily started to cry, a pathetic whimper. "Charlotte, I'm so sorry. It just happened. He was so kind, so understanding. You were always so busy, so strong. He needed someone." "Needed someone?" I screamed, feeling like I might explode. "He needed someone? He had me. He had a wife. And you, my sister, you chose to stab me in the back? This isn't fair. This is a betrayal beyond anything I could have imagined. You both conspired against me." David stepped forward, reaching for my arm. "Charlotte, please. Let's talk about this calmly. We can fix this." "Fix this?" I spat, recoiling from his touch. "There's nothing to fix. You two have destroyed everything. You've ruined my marriage. You've ruined my family. You've ruined me." He looked at me, a profound sadness in his eyes. "You don't understand, Charlotte. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a symptom. We were both unhappy. I tried to talk to you, but you were never really listening. You lying, manipulative monster." I screamed, turning away, unable to bear their faces. "Get out. Both of you. Get out of my house." They didn't argue. They didn't even pack. David, grabbing his briefcase, and Emily, pulling on her shoes, simply walked out. The silence that followed was deafening, suffocating. The days that followed blurred into a haze of anger, tears, and utter bewilderment. David's lawyer called the next morning, calmly outlining the separation process. Emily sent a string of pathetic, pleading texts, which I deleted without reading. Our parents were horrified, shocked, but also strangely hesitant to fully condemn Emily. "She's always been a little lost, dear," my mother had said, her voice laced with pity for Emily, not for me. "And David is such a good man." Perhaps it was truly just a moment of weakness on both their parts. A moment of weakness? It was an ongoing, calculated betrayal. My friends, when I finally reached out, were hesitant. Sarah, my closest confidant, listened patiently, but her sympathy felt thin. "Charlotte," she said, her voice gentle, "you know, you can be a bit hard on David. You often complained about him in our chats." Complained? That was just normal banter. Everyone complained about their partners. The divorce proceedings were a nightmare. David was calm, collected, professional. He didn't make a scene. He simply presented his case, outlining my emotional detachment, my public criticisms of him, my often harsh demeanor. He painted a picture of a man driven to seek solace elsewhere, because his wife had systematically alienated him. And then the ultimate weapon. Emily's tearful testimony, where she portrayed herself as a vulnerable woman who had fallen for a lonely man, expressing profound remorse. They were playing the victim card brilliantly. I watched horrified as my life was dismantled. The judge, a stern-faced woman, listened to their narrative, to David's quiet, logical testimony, to Emily's choked sobs. She looked at me, not with pity but with a cold, almost disappointed gaze. I was the angry, betrayed wife, yes, but also the cruel, unsupportive one. The judgment came down like a guillotine. David received the house, the majority of the assets, and surprisingly limited spousal support for me, citing my contributory behavior and emotional neglect. I was left with a fraction of what I thought I deserved, and the crushing weight of public humiliation. Rumors spread like wildfire through our social circles. The story of my mean streak and coldness towards David, culminating in his understandable flight into the arms of my vulnerable sister, became the dominant narrative. Now I'm here, alone, in a tiny rented apartment, a far cry from the stunning home I meticulously designed. David is still in our house, thriving. I hear his career soaring. Emily is living with him now, supporting him through this difficult time. As my mother delicately put it, they are a united front, the wronged man and the remorseful sister, while I am the bitter, abandoned wife. It's not fair. I was just trying to live my life, trying to find some excitement, some real connection. I was the victim of his emotional absence. I was just reacting. And he, the quiet, meticulous husband, turned into this cold, calculating monster who systematically dismantled my life, leaving me utterly alone and publicly disgraced. And my own sister. It's a betrayal beyond words. I didn't deserve this. I really didn't. This entire situation is just utterly, tragically unjust.